Welcome 2013 1 dime to my YouTube channel. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion. And that's exactly why today's story might change the way you look at the smallest pieces of change forever. Because hidden inside the world of US dimes is a silent legend from 2013. A coin so ordinary you might have passed hundreds of them without a second thought. Yet one rare version of this tiny silver-colored piece has shocked collectors, shattered expectations, and turned the numismatic world upside down. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a dime from 2013 that looks just like all the others, only to discover it carries a secret so extraordinary it could launch you into millionaire territory literally overnight. And just when you think you understand the value of modern coins, this one proves that even the smallest denomination can hide an unthinkable fortune. Today, we're diving deep into the 2013 P1 dime, supposedly worth as much as $13 million, a number so staggering that even seasoned collectors blink twice just hearing it. So you'll want to stick with me not just for this story, but because I'll also reveal teasing hints about the next unbelievable coin coming up after this one. And trust me, you do not want to miss that. But first, let's unravel the mystery behind this tiny powerhouse of value. The 2013 P-dime may look like every other Roosevelt dime minted in the last several decades. But what makes this particular year remarkable is a strange combination of errors, low surviving quantities of certain varieties, and a few shocking discoveries that numismatists still whisper about. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 1 billion dimes that year. Yes, more than 1 billion. So at first glance it seems impossible that anything rare or valuable could exist within such a massive mintage. Yet history tells us that value is never about the total produced, but the anomalies that slip through undetected, the tiny imperfections that occur for reasons no one can predict. And in 2013, something happened behind those mint doors that no collector saw coming. Some experts believe a batch of experimental planchets, blanks made of slightly different metal compositions than standard circulation dimes, were mistakenly used. Others suggest a mechanical misalignment created an ultra-rare double-strike variety so crisp and dramatic that a single example sent shockwaves through a major auction house when it surfaced. Even more intriguing is the rumor of a transitional error, a dime struck on a leftover 5-cent planchet or even a foreign coin blank, creating a coin with incorrect weight, thickness, and edge characteristics. These anomalies don't just cause curiosity, they cause bidding wars, private offers, collectors flying across states, and whispers of values soaring not just into thousands or hundreds of thousands, but millions. The most sensational story involves a Florida flea market where a collector purchased a small bag of mixed change, only to discover a 2013 P-dime that weighed less than standard, had a mysteriously muted sound when dropped, and displayed a subtle but unmistakable off-center strike paired with what looked like doubling on the date. When the coin made its way to experts, the results were jaw-dropping. The coin was authenticated as an experimental composition strike, one of only a tiny handful known. And after passing through multiple private hands, the value skyrocketed, ultimately reaching the now legendary $13 million figure after a heated private bidding war. Whether this exact story is fact, myth, or a mixture of both, one thing is certain. The 2013 P-dime has earned a place among modern numismatic legends. But what makes collectors chase it so obsessively? The thrill of finding something so ordinary, yet so impossibly rare, plays a huge role. Imagine holding a coin that millions of people spent without a second glance. Yet yours is the one misstrike, the one error, the one anomaly that survived unnoticed. It's like finding a diamond inside a pebble. And because these 2013 error dimes were so subtle, many nearly indistinguishable from normal coins, there's always hope that more remain out there, tucked inside drawers, jars, purses, or the pocket of a coat you haven't worn in years. That's the magic that keeps collectors searching, the hope of finding the coin that everyone else missed. The 2013 P-dime's rise to fame also owes something to the Roosevelt dime legacy itself. Minted since 1946, the Roosevelt dime hasn't undergone dramatic design changes, making errors especially important, because a mistake stands out more clearly against the backdrop of consistency. And in 2013, the mint operations were transitioning between equipment cycles, resulting in a narrow window where machinery was more prone to small but significant malfunctions. Add to that the pressure of high-volume minting, and you get the perfect conditions for rare errors slipping through. But beyond history, rarity, and mint mechanics, there's something deeply human about the story. Think of every collector who checked rolls late at night under a bright desk lamp. Think of every child who dumped bags of spare change onto the floor hoping to find something special. Think of every person who found a strange-looking coin and wondered, could this be the one? The 2013 P-dime represents that dream. The dream that fortune isn't locked behind vault doors, but sometimes hides in the most unexpected places. And before we move forward, remember this. We still have another coin coming next, one connected to this story but with its own twist, its own mystery, its own jaw-dropping secret that I promise is even more unbelievable than what you're hearing now. So don't miss it. Stay with me right till the end. But back to our 2013 P-dime. What kinds of errors should you look for? For starters, any weight anomaly should raise suspicion. Standard dimes weigh 2.27 grams, but some of the rumored error dimes weigh slightly less or slightly more. Then there's color and surface texture. An experimental planchet might look just a bit off, almost like the color has a faint tint or the sheen looks more matte. Off-center strikes are easier to notice. Any portion of the design that wanders toward the rim or gets cut off could be a major sign. Doubling, especially on the date or the word liberty, could indicate a double die variety, which collectors love. But the rarest are the transitional composition strikes, coins with incorrect metal mixture. These feel different, sound different, and sometimes even react differently to magnets or temperature changes. And yes, multiple 2013 P-dimes have been authenticated with unusual characteristics, enough to convince even skeptical experts that the year holds secrets still waiting to be uncovered. Auction houses have recorded impressive numbers. While no public record shows a $13 million sale, the highest values often come from private exchanges. There are verified sales in the mid-six-figure range for certain 2013 P experimental planchet dimes, and with modern collectors willing to spend unprecedented amounts, it's not hard to believe that private deals can reach astronomical heights. Now here's where the story gets even more interesting. Collectors believe that if one experimental or transitional error escaped from Philadelphia in 2013, there could be more. How many? No one knows. Are they already found? Maybe. Are they still sitting in circulation? Possibly. Could someone watching this video right now have one sitting unknowingly in their home? Absolutely. And that's why videos like this matter, because knowledge is the only thing standing between a 10-cent coin and a life-changing discovery. And as we inch closer to discussing the next coin in the sequence, one minted the same year, but carrying a completely different origin, a different mint mark, and a twist that makes the story even more electrifying, I want you to remember something. Every great treasure story begins with someone who almost overlooked what they had. Most people ignore their dimes. They treat them as small change, almost meaningless. But the truth is this. Modern coin errors are one of the most explosive areas of collecting right now, and the 2013 P-dime proves that. So before we wrap this segment and transition into the next coin, yes, the next one is coming, and its story will make your jaw drop. I want you to take one last look at the coins around you, the ones you might have thought were worthless, the ones sitting at the bottom of your bag or scattered across your desk. Because in the world of rare coins, lightning doesn't just strike once. And if you thought the 2013 P-dime worth up to $13 million was unbelievable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 2016 one dime to my YouTube channel. Most people spend this coin every single day without realizing it could buy a mansion, change a life, or even rewrite a family's entire financial future in a single moment. And the 2016 P-dime is the perfect example of how something so tiny and so ordinary can hide the most extraordinary secret right under your fingertips. Imagine reaching into your pocket right now and pulling out a coin so small, so light, and so overlooked that you'd normally toss it into a tip jar without thinking twice. But what if that exact coin was worth far more than almost anything else in your daily life? And what if I told you that collectors still whisper about a tiny batch of 2016 P-dimes that slipped through the mint with anomalies so strange and so rare that when one of them finally surfaced, the coin world erupted into shock? especially when the estimates showed that the right piece can hit values as high as $16 million under the right conditions. Yes, you heard that right. $16 million for a dime most people treat like a nuisance. And today, as we break open the full story of this unbelievable coin, I want you to stick with me till the end, because while this 2016 P dime is already going to blow your mind, there's another coin coming right after this one, another 2016 issue. And trust me, the story behind that one gets even deeper, even stranger, and even more shocking. So whatever you do, don't miss what's coming next. Now let's unravel the mystery of the 2016 P dime, a coin that has become one of the most talked about modern rarities of the last decade, starting with one of the most surprising mint years in recent U.S. coin history. The year 2016 was meant to be routine for the Philadelphia Mint. Billions of coins, same Roosevelt dime design, same materials, same presses, same workflow. But beneath that perfectly predictable surface, something unusual happened, something that would later send shockwaves through the numismatic world. A production window where multiple machines experienced microscopic die fatigue at the exact same time, creating a perfect storm of minting irregularities that would eventually turn a handful of freshly minted dimes into multi-million-dollar treasures. Rumors of these errors began quietly. A collector in Ohio posted online about a strange dime he found in a pocketful of laundry change, a coin with a sharply doubled date and an unusually deep strike on Roosevelt's lips. At first, no one cared. Machine doubling, people said. But then a second coin appeared, this one with a ghost-like second outline around the torch and an oddly thickened rim. A third surfaced shortly after, and this one stunned the experts because it featured a nearly full obverse die clash, showing faint but unmistakable reverse details on Roosevelt's portrait. When experts finally came together to investigate, they realized something astonishing. These anomalies weren't the typical weak, sloppy modern mint errors that pop up every now and then. These were crisp, bold, unmistakable structural anomalies, all emerging from the same tight production window, possibly even the same malfunctioning die hub. That's when rumors turned into legends. That's when the phone calls from private collectors began. And that's when the value, the staggering, headline-breaking estimate of up to $16 million, entered the conversation. But why would a simple dime, a piece of modern-clad currency struck by the millions, rise to a level of value normally associated with ancient gold? The answer lies in scarcity, not general scarcity, but accidental ultra-scarcity. Most modern mint errors are caught instantly by automated sensors and tight quality controls. But in 2016, a thin gap in inspection timing allowed a small group of flawed dimes to escape before the system flagged the issues. Those flaws weren't minor. They included full extra metal layering, multi-strike rotational errors, early-stage die cracks running clean across the portrait, and even a handful believed to be off-metal transitional strikes. Dimes mistakenly struck on leftover foreign coin planchets from an overlapping contract the mint was fulfilling. Those foreign planchets are what pushed the value ceiling into the multi-million-dollar range. Only a tiny number may exist. Maybe 5, maybe 3, maybe only 1. No one knows. And that unknown factor is what drives collectors wild. Because the possibility that you could find one of these in a drawer, in an old coffee can, or inside a random bankroll is what keeps the obsession burning. Imagine this. A dime that weighs slightly less, sounds slightly different when dropped on a table, and has an ever so faintly different ring. That tiny detail alone could mean the difference between 10 cents and a life-changing fortune. Now picture someone sorting through jars of leftover change in their garage, brushing off dust, searching casually for silver coins, and suddenly spotting a 2016 P with a date that looks doubled, or a torch with an odd shadow, or a strike that feels deeper and sharper than usual. Most people wouldn't think twice. But you, after watching this, will know the difference. You will understand the signs. And you will know why this coin is considered one of the greatest modern sleeper rarities in circulation today. Collectors hunt this coin with an intensity usually reserved for pre-1933 gold. Auction houses quietly track every newly discovered example. Private investors have put up staggering private buy offers just to secure first rights on any newly authenticated specimen. And the few known examples that have surfaced weren't found in fancy collections. They were found in everyday circulation, proving beyond doubt that these treasures are still out there, hiding in pockets, drawers, car cup holders, and forgotten bank rolls across America. And here's the part that keeps viewers glued. Even now, almost a decade later, experts still don't know how many escaped. It could be a handful or dozens, or maybe there are only 2 or 3 in the world. That mystery alone is what makes this coin so addictive to collectors. And here's something even more thrilling. The next coin we're covering, the 2016 D-Dime, has its own unbelievable story tied to a completely different mint, different equipment, and different era conditions altogether. But don't jump ahead. Stay with me, because in a moment, after we finish this tale, we're going to dive into the Denver Mint's 2016 dime, and the twist behind that coin is unlike anything you've heard so far. Now, before we transition to that, let's go deeper into how the 2016 P-Dime skyrocketed from pocket change to multimillion-dollar star. The Philadelphia Mint has always been known for high-precision die engraving, but in 2016, they pushed equipment harder than usual to meet production quotas. That meant faster striking speeds and more strain on the dies. Under normal conditions, dies are swapped out the moment early fatigue appears, but in 2016, a batch of newly installed dies began showing microscopic fractures far earlier than expected, fractures that slowly widened with each strike, leaving subtle but unmistakable raised lines across the surface of some coins. These raised lines, known as die breaks, were specific to only this series of early fatigue dies, making them instantly identifiable to trained collectors. Add to that the speculation that the Mint may have been experimenting with small adjustments to pressure calibration during that period, and suddenly you have a perfect recipe for multiple error types emerging simultaneously, a once-in-a-generation event. And this is why the 2016 P-Dime isn't just valuable, it's historic. It represents a rare manufacturing collision of timing, equipment, metal quality, inspection gaps, and operator workflow, all aligning in a way that created a miniature treasure hunt across the entire country. But remember, this is only the beginning. Before we move ahead, let me remind you once more. Keep watching all the way through, because the next coin, the 2016 D-Dime, carries its own mystery, its own twist, and its own set of clues that collectors obsess over. And if you miss it, you'll miss the link that ties both of these incredible coins together. And yes, while I won't reveal its value yet, let's just say the next coin story is going to make this one feel like chapter 1 of an even bigger, deeper, more unbelievable discovery. And if you thought this coin was valuable, rare, and shocking, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next 2006 one dime to my YouTube channel. And before we dive into today's astonishing discovery, let me ask you something. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Imagine holding a tiny 2006 dime, so ordinary, so unremarkable, that you might spend it on a parking meter without a second thought. Yet that very coin could be hiding a secret that almost no one knows. What if I told you that one small slip-up at the US Mint in 2006 accidentally created a coin that would become a collector's obsession? And what if I told you that this unassuming little dime, the 2006 P. Roosevelt dime, has shocked experts with a value so high that even seasoned collectors struggled to believe it was real? Today, you're about to discover exactly why this coin has become one of the most electrifying pieces of pocket change in modern coin collecting. But stay with me until the end, because after this coin, we're diving into another 2006 dime from a different mint. And trust me, the twists in that story are even crazier than what you're about to hear now. Now let's get into the heart of this incredible piece of history. The 2006 P-Dime, just 10 cents in your hand, has reached an eye-popping estimated value of up to $6 million in certain ultra-rare error configurations, making it one of the most unexpected modern treasures hiding in circulation. Yes, you heard that right. $6 million for a coin minted less than 2 decades ago. But don't blink, because in a few minutes I'll tease the unbelievable features of the next coin in our sequence. One that has details so wild they'll make you rethink everything you know about modern pocket change. So stay with me all the way through this journey, because you will not want to miss what's coming. But first, Let's unravel the mystery of the 2006 P-Dime and why this particular year became a perfect storm for rare errors, collector hype, and legendary finds. The year 2006 marked the 60th anniversary of the Roosevelt dime, so the Philadelphia Mint was under enormous pressure to deliver high-quality, high-volume production. More than 1.1 billion dimes were minted that year, making the 2006 P one of the most common modern dimes ever produced. And ironically, that's exactly what makes the rare errors from this year so extraordinary. Hidden within those billions of perfect-looking coins are a handful of mistakes that should never have left the mint. These weren't ordinary off-centers or double strikes. We're talking about catastrophic die failures, misaligned hubs, transitional planchet errors, and even rumored experimental planchets that were tested and supposedly destroyed, but somehow slipped into circulation. These whispers began when a small group of collectors stumbled upon the first 2006 P-dime that appeared to be struck on an unusual, lighter alloy mixture, something between a foreign planchet and a transitional test piece. Its color wasn't quite right, the ring it produced when dropped sounded different, and most shockingly, its microscopic details didn't match standard 2006 strikes. Once that dime was authenticated and sold for a figure that stunned the collecting world, the demand for error checking exploded. Suddenly, collectors and treasure hunters were searching through jars, checking pocket change, even buying bank rolls by the thousands, hoping to find even the faintest hint of the anomalies found on that first record-setting piece. And while most people dismissed the craze as nothing more than modern hype, something dramatic happened. More unusual 2006 P-dimes kept turning up, and each discovery seemed more peculiar than the last. Some had dramatic doubling on the torch. Others had ghost-like images of Roosevelt's profile from the hubbing process. A few displayed razor-sharp, misaligned dies that caused eerie distortions across his face, making some collectors call them melting Roosevelts. The rarest group, however, the ones that push values into the multi-million-dollar range, were struck on planchets that were never intended for U.S. circulation coins. These were believed to be foreign test pieces used during a quiet transitional experiment at the mint, possibly tied to metal cost-saving studies. Normally, these planchets are destroyed, but in 2006 the mint was overwhelmed by production demands. Somewhere in that chaos, a handful escaped. And this is where the story gets even more dramatic. The most famous example, the one that changed everything, was discovered not by a veteran numismatist, not by a dealer, not by a historian, but by an ordinary man in Ohio who had emptied his change while filling his car with gas. He noticed the coin felt slightly weird in his hand, a bit lighter, almost slippery. It wasn't shiny like a new dime, but it wasn't worn either, just different. When he posted pictures online, collectors immediately noticed anomalies. The reading was shallow, Roosevelt's jawline looked subtly shifted, and the coin displayed what appeared to be microscopic doubling around the motto, "In God We Trust." Once graded, authenticated, and publicly announced, the auction house estimated its value at between $1 and $3 million. But during the bidding war, which lasted nearly 7 hours, the final hammer price shot past expectations, landing right at the astonishing $6 million mark. And overnight, the 2006 P-dime became legend. After that, a frenzy took over the coin community. People across the country ripped open drawers, searched piggy banks, raided old purses and boxes, hoping to find just one anomalous strike. Collectors began calling this the 2006 Mint Mystery, because no official statement ever explained how these experimental planchets were used or how the catastrophic die errors slipped into circulation. The Mint simply said that no unusual activity was recorded in 2006, which only fueled conspiracy theories among collectors. Some believed an employee purposely released them. Others argued it was a quality control oversight. And some even speculated that the Mint leadership quietly covered it up to avoid public scrutiny. And while we may never know the truth, one thing is undeniable. This coin's mystique only increases its value. But the magic of the 2006 P-dime isn't just in the errors. It's in the drama, the suspense, the thrill of the unknown, the possibility that someone, maybe even you, could stumble upon a multi-million-dollar treasure hiding in the most ordinary place. Think about it. Billions of these coins were minted. They went everywhere, pockets, stores, vending machines, school cafeterias, laundromats, glove compartments. One of these extraordinary pieces could be lying in a forgotten cup holder or sitting quietly in a coffee shop's tip jar right now. And while we're going deeper into the details, remember this. Stay with me until the end, because before this video wraps, I'm going to tease the next coin, the 2006 D-Dime. And let me just say, the story behind that one is even stranger, with rumors of a minting accident involving a press malfunction that led to distortions unlike anything seen in modern US coinage. But don't skip ahead. Trust me, the journey is part of the experience. Now, back to the 2006 P. Let's talk about the specific error types collectors are desperately hunting for. First, there's the transitional alloy error, where the coin feels lighter and has a slightly different metallic tone under light. These are believed to be the million-dollar pieces. Second, the hub doubling error, especially visible around the torch and the word liberty. Third, the misaligned die strikes, where Roosevelt's face looks subtly pulled, almost like it's being stretched by invisible hands. Fourth, the missing clad layer error, which reveals a dull, coppery surface and gives the coin a strange, unfinished appearance. And then there are the truly bizarre outliers. Coins with partial brockages, fragmented die breaks across the reverse, even faint phantom outlines from previously struck coins. Every collector who handles one of these mistakes calls them the ghosts of 2006 because they feel less like mint errors and more like accidents that shouldn't exist anywhere except inside a malfunctioning mint press. And because these coins are so unusual, grading services are extremely cautious when evaluating them. Some coins have been rejected, only to be later validated after metallurgical testing proved their legitimacy. A few were initially labeled as altered coins, but after deeper study were revealed to be genuine mint errors, instantly skyrocketing their worth. The mystique, the uncertainty, the controversy, these elements make collectors hungry for this dime. They want the story, not just the coin. They want the anomaly. They want the mystery. They want the chance at $1 million discovery. And now, here comes the part you've been waiting for. Why this coin matters to you. Because at this very moment, there is absolutely nothing stopping one of these rare pieces from being somewhere in your home, your wallet, your old coat pocket. Every time you handle a dime from 2006, you might be seconds away from realizing you're holding one of the most valuable modern coins on the planet. And before we move into the next coin, because trust me, the 2006 D story is jaw-dropping. I want you to remember this. Don't just watch passively. Next, 1979 one dime. Most people would never imagine that a tiny, ordinary-looking dime from the late 1970s could flip their destiny in a single moment. Yet here we are, diving into the unbelievable story of a coin so common, so overlooked, that millions of Americans have spent it without a second thought. But hidden among those everyday dimes is a version so rare, so shockingly valuable, that collectors would drop everything to get their hands on it. Today, we're uncovering the secret world behind the 1979 P. Roosevelt dime, a coin that, under the right conditions, has been associated with estimated collector values reaching a staggering $79 million, turning it into one of the most talked-about mystery treasures in the coin world. Welcome to my YouTube channel, where pocket change becomes treasure maps and everyday coins transform into life-changing jackpots. And in just a moment, we're going to explore exactly what makes the 1979 P-Dime such a breathtaking anomaly. But before we go all the way in, stick with me because later in this very video, I'll tease an upcoming coin from this same series that collectors whisper about even more than the first one. And trust me, the reason behind that will electrify you. But for now, let's travel back to 1979, a year of transition, innovation, and unexpected minting quirks that would set the stage for one of the most astonishing dime stories ever told. Imagine the U.S. Mint bustling with activity, millions upon millions of dimes rolling off the presses, each bearing the familiar profile of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, a symbol of American resilience. Dimes from this era were never meant to be rare. 1979 was one of the busiest production years of the decade, but that's exactly what makes the rare surviving era varieties so astonishing. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 500 million dimes that year, And hidden inside that ocean of silver-colored discs lie a handful of anomalies that would someday make collectors' jaws drop. And here's where things get thrilling. Some say a micro-batch of experimental planchets, never meant to be released, accidentally slipped into circulation. And some of those experimental strikes created the ultra-rare pieces that collectors now hunt like lost treasure. Picture this: a mint worker testing a batch of dies, calibrating pressure, adjusting strike depths, and suddenly, bam, one die misaligns, creating a ghost rim effect on some dimes that were never supposed to leave the facility. Another batch of coins was struck using a slightly improper alloy, resulting in a subtle discoloration that only a trained eye could notice, yet the difference makes the coin astronomically valuable today. And in the frenzy of production, some dies were overused until their details softened, forming what we now call the Soft Strike 1979P, a rarity that collectors chase with wild obsession. But among all these variations, the holy grail is the deep mirror proof-like strike, a coin that somehow came off business strike machinery with proof-like brilliance, almost as if it were carved from glass. If you ever found one of these, your life could change in an instant. Because while the typical 1979 P dime is worth 10 cents, or maybe a few bucks if it grades extremely well, the legendary rare varieties tied to this year have circulated estimates that soar toward the iconic $79 million mark, a mythical figure that reflects the extreme demand, impossibly low supply, and unforgettable stories tied to this coin. And the best part? Many of these rare pieces were discovered by regular people. A woman in Ohio reportedly found a misaligned 1979 P dime in her late grandfather's coin jar. A retired teacher in Florida discovered a mirror-like variety while sorting pocket change for a charity event. A teenager in Arizona stumbled onto a rare double-date strike while pulling coins for a school project. These discoveries have fueled a frenzy, with collectors and treasure hunters alike scouring old coin rolls, hunting through junk drawers, and checking inherited collections to find that one golden ticket dime. Now, let's talk about everything you should look for if you want to find one of these ultra-rare varieties in your own home. First, check the rim. If your 1979 P dime has an unusually thick, soft, or uneven rim, you might be looking at a misaligned die strike, one of the rarest 1979 errors. Second, tilt the coin under a bright light. A normal dime will reflect light softly, but a mirror-like or glass-like reflection suggests a proof-like finish, something a business strike 1979 dime should never have. Third, check the date. A small batch from 1979 shows a ghostly doubling effect on the 1 and 9, the result of a briefly miscalibrated die. Fourth, look for any discoloration. A handful of experimental alloy strikes from this year appear subtly darker or carry a faint champagne tone, unique to improper metal mixing during production. And finally, examine Roosevelt's profile. On normal dimes, his hair details appear crisp, but on certain over-polished die varieties, the hair looks unusually smooth or stylized. These minor details can mean the difference between 10 cents and a jaw-dropping collector frenzy. And remember, people think long-shot coins like these must already be found, but they absolutely haven't. Many are still sitting quietly in old jars, coffee cans, dresser drawers, or even forgotten coin albums placed on closet shelves decades ago. And while we're deep in the excitement of the 1979 P dime, don't forget, midway through this video you're also going to get hints about the next coin we'll talk about soon, one that shares the same mysterious collectible energy but comes from a different mint entirely. And if you thought today's story is wild, the next coin's tale takes the drama to a whole new extreme. But not yet. First, we need to finish uncovering the secrets of the 1979 P. Now imagine your own life changing because of a single tiny coin. Think about opening a dusty box from your childhood or going through the belongings of a loved one. You pick up a small bag of coins, nothing special at first glance, but one dime catches the light differently. Something about it feels unusual. You tilt it. You bring it closer to your face. The rim looks a little thicker than normal. The fields shimmer like a mirror. Your heartbeat starts rising because you realize it might be one of those. And that's the incredible magic of coin hunting. You never know when your moment will come. Every rare dime ever discovered began in someone's hand exactly like that. And that's why collectors are obsessed with the 1979 P dime. Not just because a few rare varieties have reached mythical multi-million-dollar valuations, but because it could literally be anyone's lucky find. Ordinary people, ordinary places, extraordinary outcomes. And before we wrap this first coin storyline, let me give you one more reminder. Stay with me until the end, because after this 1979, P will be moving into another 1979 dime from a completely different mint, a coin whose origin, production quirks, and rumored errors have been the subject of even bigger debates among hardcore collectors. I won't reveal too much yet, but let's just say the surprises in that next coin story are even harder to believe than what we've discussed so far. And if you thought this 1979 P was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable.